Shalom, family. Sorry about that. I was having a hard time getting on, but I'm here. So, we're going to talk about MAGA and how they're upset with Donald Trump for starting this war. And I'm probably going to do another live stream a little later because Donald Trump called for a ceasefire, and the ceasefire actually failed. And we'll get more into that. He's really upset with Iran and Israel right now because you know how Donald Trump is. Donald Trump don't follow any rules. He doesn't follow any laws. But when he calls for a ceasefire, he expects everybody to follow anything he requests. Yeah, don't let the hypocrisy show, Donald Trump, because you're a big hypocrite. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about more hypocrisy when it comes down to Donald Trump. Donald Trump got involved, and a lot of people felt like America should not have gotten involved. It was really an exchange between Iran and Israel. Donald Trump decided to dive in and fired on Iran. Now, the word is Iran had no uranium. Inspectors went in there, they found no uranium in any of the bunkers that America hit. So that clearly tells you they moved everything before, Donald Trump got the idea to bomb the bunkers. So Iran was really steps ahead. So I guess his base, they're afraid they may have to go to war. You know how it is. The bully is always the one that's really afraid. Yeah. So I want you to hear what a big hypocrite Donald Trump is. Now, I'm going to play a video for you. Listen to what he said when uh, President Obama at the time was, I guess, bombing Iran. And listen to what Donald Trump says. And then he's going to talk about George Bush and the weapons of mass destruction. And think about how different Donald Trump is now. So let me share my screen because you got to hear this. All right. Let me get like that one out and share my screen with you. Okay, please give me a 1 if you can see my screen. Give me a 1 if you can see my screen. Okay. All right, here we go, y'all.
Our president will start a war with Iran because he has absolutely no ability to negotiate. He's weak and he's ineffective. So the only way he figures that he's going to get reelected, and as sure as you're sitting there, is to start a war with Iran. Now, I'm more militant and more militaristic than the president. I believe in strength. But to start a war in order to get elected, and I believe that's going to happen, would be an outrage.
We should have never been in Iraq. We have destabilized the Middle East.
But so you still think he should be impeached?
I think it's my turn, isn't it? You do whatever you want. You call it whatever you want. I want to tell you, they lied.
Okay.
They said there were weapons of mass destruction. There were none, and they knew there were none. There were no weapons of mass destruction.
It's crazy how Trump is doing the very own thing that he criticized our government for doing, which is lying about weapons of mass destruction in order to bring the United States to a war with a country in the Middle East. Israel has been saying that Iran has been weeks away from developing a nuke since the 1990s. That is a ton of weeks that have passed by since then. I think we can all agree. Israel was also a big supporter and pusher for the Iraq War. And now we're seeing history repeat itself yet again. Israel and the United States are lying to yet again. Do not let them get away with it. If there was ever a time for mass protests in this country, the time is definitely now. No war with Iran.
All right, it's almost been 24 hours since Donald Trump made the decision to strike Iran, enter the United States into war, and the MAGA base is very, very, very upset. So we're going to react to some clips and some tweets of, first of all, a lot of MAGA leaving, saying, you betrayed us. This is not what we voted for, as the majority of polling has shown, but also clips of Republicans talking endlessly before the election about how Donald Trump was the peace president, and Joe Biden, excuse me, was the one who was going to get us into war. Now, before I start this video, once again, my name's Chris Maurer. I'm filling in for Adam Mockler on the Adam Mockler channel. And if you enjoy this content, the link to my YouTube channel will be in the description down below. Obviously, my setup here looks a little bit different. I am traveling right now, running around a bit. And if you appreciate that, it would mean a lot if you just hit like on this video. On this channel, we're trying to build something big, punch back against MAGA media going into 2026, 2028, and beyond. And to join this awesome community, all you have to do is subscribe. All right, let's take a look at some of these clips, or at some of these screenshots, clips, before we get into some of this article. So first, we have some pretty easy stuff, some stuff that we're seeing really just everywhere on the internet right now. This is Pete Hegseth, essentially showing people Donald Trump's true social post, saying any retaliation by Iran against the United States of America will be met with force far greater than what was witnessed tonight, referring to potentially strikes moving forward on Iran. And this person says, I trusted you. I'm done with MAGA and all your bullshit. My son is a sitting duck on a fucking destroyer, you stupid asshole. Well, those are pretty strong words, but also understandable. Because again, something else that Donald Trump didn't really seem to acknowledge much of at all, maybe a little bit at the end of his speech, is that, like, there's military service members right now in the Middle East at serious risk. And if you're somebody out there who is either serving this country or has family members who are serving, we're all thinking of you right now, and we appreciate you, because you're putting service members, again, in serious danger and at serious risk, something that you explicitly promised you wouldn't do. You explicitly said Joe Biden was the one who was going to do that, and you were going to make peace because you're the master negotiator. You can get on the phone call and end these wars within, one call. Apparently not this time, though. That's because he's not the master negotiator. We go to the next one. The fake president of the United States is on his way to Israel because he is determined to start a nuclear war. To change the narrative, he will spill our children's blood. Wow, that's pretty intense, again, from the same person who posted this. Let's go to the next one. We have a very large creator on Twitter here, Hillbilly Things. I wish I never voted for @RealDonaldTrump. I will never, ever vote again. Now with almost 1 million views and 31,000 likes. Well, again, a lot of people feeling this, a lot of big people in the MAGA sphere saying similar things. We go to the next one. This is Donald Trump, showing people his true social post, and the same person. You betrayed us, your MAGA base. I voted for you 3 times. I would have voted for you again and again and again. You lying piece of shit. Again, I've contested that this issue, particularly the endless war issue, as a lot of people frame it, is probably the most passionate of all the issues for the MAGA base. And so this is a really big deal. I think a lot of other things that Trump has kind of folded on, some people in the base trickle off and say, I can't do this anymore. But most of them are kind of in that cult mindset. They're like, oh, we'll stick around. But this one, I think, is different. Truly, it is. Let me show you a couple clips also as well. Let's react to a couple clips that have gone very viral because people are saying, this did not age well. And this is one of them. Tim Pool speaking on a podcast during the election season about Trump and Iran. Let's take a listen.
Have you been following the news?
Huh?
Have you been following the news on this one?
Yeah.
He recently came out and told Israel he was breaking from them. He doesn't want to be involved in their wars.
Do you remember why?
Iran.
What do you mean Iran?
To avoid a war?
To avoid a war with Iran, he said, we're going to stop supporting you because you're pushing too hard. Israel said they're going to engage in strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities. And Tulsi Gabbard told Trump, don't do it. And Trump said, we won't Tulsi Gabbard was excellent choice. Man, if we got Kamala Harris in there, holy shit.
And another.
This clip is almost picture perfect for the "this didn't age well," because he's describing exactly what didn't happen just in the last 2 weeks. It's insane. Donald Trump wanted to negotiate. Then all of a sudden, Israel pulls him in and says, come help us fight. Tulsi Gabbard says, well, we don't really have the evidence that this is happening. His intelligence community is clearly saying, like, hey, we don't know that they're that close to building a nuclear weapon. And instead of, like Tim says in this clip, instead of pulling out and making sure we don't go to war, Trump struck Iran. So this clip is crazy. I hope you share this one around. Let's go to the next one. Charlie Kirk speaking to college kids in Texas.
As a liberal, I imagine you don't like war, right? You don't like endless war. Under Donald Trump, it was the first president in 40 years where we had no new wars. No Iraq war, no Syrian war, no Russian-Ukraine war. Under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, we have the Russian-Ukrainian war that we've spent $250 billion on. We have the terror.
So again, like a lot of the reason that my generation, my demographic specifically, young men voted for Trump was actually a lot of this talking point. This idea that actually if you vote for Kamala Harris, you're going to get sent to war. But if you vote for Donald Trump, the peacemaker, the master negotiator, the one who can pick up the phone and end the Russia-Ukraine conflict within 24 hours, which has not happened, then you're going to be safe. The world was safe under Trump. And that's a lot of why you're seeing things like this, especially from my generation and my demographic already. It's like, it's like, damn, we tried to tell you, but at least you're coming around. And especially that Gen Z vote is going to be very important. We go to another Charlie Kirk clip.
Look at 4 years of him as president. And it's not about the rhetoric. It's not about any of that. It's the war. There were no new wars. People were getting richer. Our border was secure. We saw that for 4 years. And they want to try to hoodwink you and scare you into, Project 2025. Yeah, Donald Trump's true Project 2025 is lower energy costs.
So first of all, Project 2025, a lot of it has already been implemented. This expansion of executive authority, flooding the executive branch, that three-letter agencies, with loyalists, getting ready to, or, really pushing the line, ignoring federal judges and saying that the judiciary, the judicial branch is hyper politicized to give them way less credit. It's a very scary time, but also, again, same concept. What did Donald Trump run on? No new wars. What are we doing 6 months in? What did Donald Trump run on? We're going to make you all rich on day one. The economy under Biden Harris was just awful. And now, things are not good economically. Inflation is rising. The Fed is saying it's going to rise further because of Donald Trump's tariffs. Consumer sentiment is near an all-time low. If I was MAGA right now, I would be furious. And I just showed you a couple reasons why. And so lastly, we go all the way back to this article. Trump faces backlash from MAGA base after strikes on Iran. President Donald Trump faced a fierce backlash from parts of his MAGA movement over his decision to launch strikes against Iran, with critics saying he had been maneuvered into a Middle East war by Israel. Quote, an overwhelming majority of the people in the U.S. don't want to get involved in any of this, Steve Bannon said. Obviously, Steve Bannon being the reason, I would argue, the key reason he got in during his first term. Tucker Carlson saying there was no justification for attacking Iran, adding that there was, quote, zero credible intelligence to suggest it was, quote, anywhere near building a nuclear bomb. People like Theo Vaughn, quote, I felt like it was supposed to be America first, and now it just feels like we're working for Israel. The influential right-wing podcaster Theo Vaughn said. Theo Vaughn had Donald Trump on his podcast going into the 2024 election. Quote, I think to a lot of people, you just start to feel very disillusioned pretty quickly in our leaders. Wow. So again, I will continue to make videos showing you clips like this, calling out the hypocrisy, showing you how MAGA is furious, because if this has only been 6 months, I'm not sure what type of base he's going to have within 2 years. You know what I mean? But it is important that we keep yelling, screaming, and talking about it, because the MAGA base does tend to be a little cult-like. So sometimes you got to push and push and push. And that's why, if you would, it would mean a lot if you.
Donald Trump should be impeached and removed for this. All of his supporters should turn on him. It's the absolute betrayal of everything that he ran and campaigned on and everything that he stood for. Duran has done over and over again. But now we've pushed them to the point where they probably don't feel that they have the option not to respond. And Donald Trump telling them to come back to the negotiating table now is a joke.
Yeah.
I mean, what a impotent leader to be sitting there talking about coming back to the negotiating table. It's like sitting after Pearl Harbor and telling FDR, now's the time to go negotiate with the Japanese.
Right.
Negotiations are over now. The time for negotiations was before this. And so, yeah, Donald Trump, listen, man, I supported him this last year. I apologize for doing so. It was a bad calculation. At the time, it seemed like the right one. But he should be impeached and removed for this one. Wow. And not on some like not on some ridiculous Nancy Pelosi. Of course, the Congress will never do it because they're all a bunch of, corrupt hacks.
This is the one thing they support. This is like
Donald Trump should be impeached and removed for this. All of his supporters should turn on him. It's the absolute betrayal of everything that he ran and campaigned on and everything that he stood for. And I will say, despite the fact that, Donald Trump supporters have been labeled like a cult following, and that certainly is true for a percentage of his supporters, he is going to lose his coalition over this. I don't just speak for myself when I say there are a lot of us who simply will not go along with this. So it's just a devastating mistake. By the way, on top of that, he's also going to lose the deportation fight because of this, because right now he needed all the political capital he could have to turn that, you got a majority support for deportations, but the minority is very mobilized and they're out and they're protesting all around the country. He needed all of his political capital for that move. So here's what we got. The neocons win. More war abroad and, bomb the world and invite the world. No matter who you vote for, you always get John McCain.
1,000 likes. Well, again, a lot of people feeling this, a lot of big people in the MAGA sphere saying similar things. We go to the next one. This is Donald Trump, showing people his true social posts, and the same person. You betrayed us, your MAGA base. I voted for you 3 times. I would have voted for you again and again and again. You lying piece of shit. Again, I've contested that this issue, particularly the endless war issue, as a lot of people frame it, is probably the most passionate of all the issues for the MAGA base. And so this is a really big deal. I think a lot of other things that Trump has kind of folded on, some people in the base trickle off and say, I can't do this anymore. But most of them are kind of in that cult mindset. They're like, oh, we'll stick around. But this one, I think, is different. Truly, it is. Let me show you a couple clips also as well. Let's react to a couple clips that have gone very viral because people are saying, this did not age well. And this is one of them. Tim Pool speaking on a podcast during the election season about Trump and Iran. Let's take a listen.
Have you been following the news?
Huh?
Have you been following the news on this one?
Yeah.
He recently came out and told Israel he was breaking from them. He doesn't want to be involved in their wars.
Do you remember why?
Iran.
What do you mean Iran?
To avoid a war.
To avoid a war with Iran, he said, we're going to stop supporting you because you're pushing too hard. Israel said they're going to engage in strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities. And Tulsi Gabbard told Trump, don't do it. And Trump said, we won't. Tulsi Gabbard was excellent choice. Man, if we got Kamala Harris in there, holy shit.
And another.
This clip is almost picture perfect for this didn't age well, because he's describing exactly what didn't happen just in the last 2 weeks. It's insane. Donald Trump wanted to negotiate. Then all of a sudden, Israel pulls him in and says, come help us fight. Tulsi Gabbard says, well, we don't really have the evidence that this is happening. His intelligence community is clearly saying like, hey, we don't know that they're that close to building a nuclear weapon. And instead of, like Tim says in this clip, instead of pulling out and making sure we don't go to war, Trump struck Iran. So this clip is crazy. I hope you share this one around. Let's go to the next one. Charlie Kirk speaking to college kids in Texas.
As a liberal, I imagine you don't like war, right? You don't like endless war. Under Donald Trump, it was the first president in 40 years where we had no new wars. No Iraq war, no Syrian war, no Russian-Ukraine war. Under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, we have the Russian-Ukrainian war that we've spent $250 billion on. We have the terror.
So again, like a lot of the reason that my generation my demographic specifically, young men, voted for Trump was actually a lot of this talking point.
You want to know the saddest thing about this whole Trump bombing Iran thing? It's not even that he just kicked off World War III by joining Israel's war on Iran, or that places like Pakistan, Yemen, and Russia have already said that they are going to retaliate as well against the United States. So the guy who claimed no new wars and no wars, look, Kamala Harris is going to send your kids to war, but Trump is for peace. Yet he started a war not even 6 months after he got into office, which Kamala Harris, by the way, said he was going to do. The saddest part is that he basically missed. Because even though he said those 3 sites that the US attacked were completely obliterated and it was a success, Iran said that they evacuated those places a long time ago, and all material was moved out of the area so as to not cause harmful radiation to the people around it. And even military experts are stating that the bombs that were used were not capable of penetrating through those Iranian sites, which means that we may have damaged some of that stuff, but it was not obliterated. So basically, because of his weak, fragile ego and his need for attention and his sociopathy, Trump just kicked off World War III for everyone basically against the United States to basically lightly bomb some already evacuated sites. Again, fucking embarrassing. And now, even though these MAGA cultists have been saying for years that Joe Biden was going to kick off World War III and that Trump was a peaceful president, now that their guy is starting a world war, they don't care, and they're just still making fun of everybody. They're like, oh, you don't like World War? Oh, cry some more. Which really just shows that they are not going to care until it happens to them personally. They are praising the fact that he is starting a war with half the world. This is like that Austin Powers moment, remember, where that guard is standing there screaming even though the steamroller coming at him is like 30 feet away? But it's the reverse of that. We've been trying to tell them for years that Donald Trump is an imminent danger that is coming toward them, and they're pretending that danger's not even there, and they're laughing at that steamroller. But until that steamroller hits them, figuratively, in some way, whether they or their kids get drafted to go fight over in Iran, or they have bombs falling on their house, or Trump puts their small trailer park under martial law, they are physically not going to care. Because all of these horrible things are happening to other people that are not them, and it's owning the libs and making them mad. So to them, it must be a great thing, because they live their entire lives fueled solely by hate. It's the only thing they live for. And now, after what Trump did yesterday, they're going to see just how quickly this shit is going to hit home, and they're going to start caring. And that's when I'm not even going to give them a fucking tissue.
It's really just sad that we can't stay out of the Middle East. That's what's sad. We just can't do it. Does Iran even have the capacity to get a nuke to the United States of America? You don't know that. The answer is probably no. And yet here we are again with the same freaks that were celebrating when we went into Afghanistan, the same freaks that were celebrating when we went into Iraq, and everybody agrees that was a disaster. And it's the same people that pushed that, same people pushing this, same people celebrating. So that's all for tonight. We'll be monitoring this situation closely. But, you know, at the bottom of the day, I think we all just have to pray that this doesn't come back and haunt us. I think we all have to just pray that it doesn't come back and haunt American citizens and that no American dies for this. You know, Iranians are living in fear. Israelis are living in fear. Palestinians are living in fear. And now we're getting involved again. And the world is watching. The world is watching. And I don't know if the world's response is going to be the same as the first time we got involved in the Middle East, in Iraq and Afghanistan. Things could be different. And they say, oh, well, it's not the same. No, I agree. It's definitely not the same. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's better. It could also mean it's worse. Pray for peace. Enjoy your life. Enjoy your life while things are still safe in America. Hopefully they'll stay that way. Enjoy your day tomorrow. It's sad. It's sad that all of this happens before we get the Epstein files, before we get the JFK files, before we get tax cuts, before we get mass deportations, you know, before we get the America First agenda, we get Iranian strikes. So it is what it is, folks. It is what it is. Politics as usual, as they say. So no, I'm not happy about the strikes. Am I turning my back on Trump? Am I anti-Trump now? No, I'm doing political coverage and I'm doing geopolitical analysis. That's what we're doing. Okay. So we're not in a cult. And if you think everybody should think the same thing you think and believe the same thing you believe, then you are in a cult. And if you agree with everything the president says or does, you might also be in a cult. I think Trump is still probably the best president for all of this situation. But you know what? He can get bad intel too. He can get deceived as well. Or who knows? Who knows what's really going on that leads to us getting involved in Iran before we get the America First agenda. So I'm going to sign off there. I'll be back on air Monday to address this more. But just pray for peace. Call your friends and family that you care about. Tell them you love them. And just pray this doesn't cost us any more treasure and blood. That's all.
Well, we did it. We are now in a war with the Middle East. We have bombed Iran. And then that fuckknuckle, Trump, had the audacity to go on social media and say, and now is the time for peace. Have you ever been in a fist fight? You ever punch someone right in the mouth and then say, and now is the time for peace? What do you think they're going to do? What the fuck do you think they're going to do? If they retaliate and it hits our soil, what are you going to do? Going to still be like, well, no, it's a good thing we did that, even though, you know, they've never done that before. At what point can you assign any blame to yourself? And I'm so fucking sick of MAGA and these right-wingers gaslighting everything. It's like, oh, you think he's a dictator? What about when Biden weaponized the judicial system against it? You mean when he brought charges against a fucking criminal? Is that weaponizing the justice system? Are we not weaponizing shit with ICE going into fucking people's goddamn homes, their own personal property, violating the Constitution? I don't want to hear another one of you motherfuckers ever point to the Constitution for anything, because they are violating it every single fucking day. They are raping our fucking Constitution. And you stand there waving your little American flag thing, wearing an American flag t-shirt, not to mention when you're putting the flag all over shit, that's against flag code, you fucking idiot. But every single fucking time you try to point out, look, this is wrong. Due process applies to anyone on our fucking soil, not citizens. And they just, I don't want to hear anything that makes me know that I'm wrong. I keep seeing all these creators at these events, and they walk up to people and be like, hey, well, you know, this article in the Constitution. And as soon as they know what's happening, they're like, oh, you're the Constitution. Because they know they got nothing to stand on. They have nothing to fucking stand on. Dude, I'm shaking. I'm so fucking angry. Every single part of their being is a lie, is a farce. Okay? They've believed this stupid man. Like, Trump is so fucking dumb. It's just like a stupid person. If that was your neighbor, you'd be like, that guy's a fucking moron. He lies about everything. He's wrong about everything. His polls right now are in the fucking garbage. And what does he do? He goes on Truth Social. He's bit my fucking tongue. And says, best polls ever, most popular president, all human history. It's like objectively, like you can just verify it in 2 seconds. Ask AI, ask the internet, ask anything. It's a lie. But in your mind, everything is a conspiracy against him. Like, I swear to God, if you had the opportunity, you would suck the shit out of his ass and tongue bathe his little fucking stink hole clean. You guys have no self-respect, no morals, no whatever. And when they come to your fucking house, they could drag out your wife, your fucking children. And you'd go, I didn't know they were criminals. Well, good riddance. I feel like you yourself would be deported, sitting in the fucking gulag going, damn, I didn't even know I was a criminal. Well, go Trump. The worst part about this is that I don't even think that you have the mental capacity to feel the level of shame and embarrassment that is warranted with your fucking actions. Every single day for the rest of your life, you should feel utter humiliation for what you have helped facilitate in this fucking country. And let's not mince words here. You're a fucking traitor. You are a traitor to this country. You're a traitor to the Constitution. You spit on the graves of every single fucking soldier that gave their lives defending this place, especially gay soldiers and trans soldiers, black soldiers, Hispanic soldiers, any soldier that isn't just a straight white dude. Those people believed in this country enough to defend it and give their lives. They died for you. And what do? You fucking pull off your little pants, you remove your fucking Trump 2028 butt plug, and you shit all over their sacrifice. Fucking pathetic. You are no longer American. I don't even know what you are anymore. Some fucking disgusting MAGA Trump shit-sucking creature at this point. Fuck!
Hello? I'm sorry. Y'all, I'm having all kinds of technical issues. And so I'm gonna go ahead and conclude because I'm freezing, and then I see you, I see the chat, but I can't say anything to you, or it just freezes. So I'm having a lot of technical issues. But before we conclude, I just want to say, there are a lot of people online upset with Donald Trump, and there's a lot of his supporters feel betrayed and everything. But at the end of the day, y'all, many of them will even turn around and say, I'd vote for Donald Trump again. I would still do it again. I've even heard Latinos say it, believe it or not. I've heard them say the same thing after everything they've gone through. It's like, "Oh, well, I would still vote for Donald Trump again." Okay, well then I guess you're in the situation you want to be in then. That's the way I see it. So, um we're going to come back a little later. As I stated before, Donald Trump called for a ceasefire and things did not work out so well. The bombs were still going, and Israel threatened to get Iran back because I think one of the apartment buildings in Haifa got hit, and I think about 4 people got killed. So the ceasefire just kind of unraveled and fell apart. So we're going to talk about that a little later. But yeah, I mean, look, these guys may be upset because many of them are military age, and it's no telling what's going to happen from this thing. But I don't think it's over. I think that Donald Trump, I don't think Donald Trump got negotiating skills. I said this before. And if anybody is going to negotiate the end of the war, it's just not Donald Trump. How do you bomb a country and then demand everybody come to a negotiating table? They're not going to do it. They're just not. So we'll get into that a little later. And let me just thank the people that gave. Yarmi, Yah, Ben Israel. Thank you for the super chat. Well, it looks like 3.5 more years of peace for us, as long as the attention is focused on things like this. Well, perhaps. Dark Skin Brother, thank you so much for becoming a 27-month channel member. Shalom, Lisa, my warrior sister. Shalom to you too. And here's the last one. Let's see here. One of many ancestral reflections. These folks have become an Ouroboros. Yeah, well, Donald Trump supporters, that's why a lot of people say they are like a cult, and they really truly are. If MAGA feels you cross them or one of their members are not in line step with the others, yeah, they go after that person. Look at what they did to Kyle Rittenhouse when he first came out and said he wasn't going to vote for Donald Trump. They all ganged up on Kyle Rittenhouse. And that's why a lot of people do call them cult members, because they do act like a cult online. They really do. Mm-mm. Well, I tell you what, we shall see what happens. I don't know about the ceasefire, but we'll see what happens. That's all I can say. I mean, it's hard to predict the things that are going on because it's just very inconsistent these days. So, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and conclude. I will see you at 2:45, and that's when we'll get into some of the things that are going on now with the war. So I will see you then. Shalom, family.